Welcome back to my channel, Miss Personal Finance, where we are budgeting our way to financial freedom. Today's video is going to be the monthly budget for the month of November, and I am scared writing in these numbers because the holiday season is upon us and it never seems like it's enough. As you know, we are 1 month ahead, so we are able to pull from our savings at the beginning of each month and pretty much budget the entire amount at once. And this took some time to save up the entire amount for the month, but I feel like it's way worth it and I highly recommend. So for November, we are budgeting $5,200. As you know, over the last couple of months, we've been trying to figure out what our true monthly budget amount should be. We're still playing around with some numbers, so hopefully we will get this ironed out by the end of the year so we can start fresh next year. Jumping right in, we're going to go into our fixed expenses. And if you know me, you know that we are going to save or invest and pay ourselves first. So we always budget for right now $200. And your future self will thank you, whether it's in your savings or an investment account. When you need to pull on those funds, you'll be glad that you set it aside. And once you pay yourself first, it allows you to better manage or budget the remainder of your funds because you know that that money is already gone. It's already allocated to savings. All right. Then we try to cover our necessities. So that's going to be whatever goes into the monthly housing bill. So that's about $15.95 for internet. This keeps on going up and I keep on having to call them to get minor credits here and there, but right now it's up to $85 a month, and that's just internet because we use Sling for actual TV cable streaming, and that is $63 a month. For childcare, that can fluctuate, but it's usually between $900 and $1,000 a month. For subscriptions, we keep those pretty low. We only have 2, and that's about $10 a month. And I say about because we round to the nearest whole dollar. We don't use any cents in our budget. And for utilities. So for utilities, we do our own budget billing, meaning we've taken the average over the last few years, so we know what our average cost for the year is, so we just divide it by 12 and we pay that same amount every single month, whether it's higher or lower. It actually ends up averaging out to that amount by the end of the year. So the low months we overpay kind of, but it makes up for it during the higher months, and that's for water and electricity. So we do 200 for electricity, 70 for water, so that's 270. Okay, so let's go ahead and add up our fixed expenses. The good thing about these, they pretty much stay the same unless there's an annual change or something in the contract that makes the price go up or down, usually up. So that is pretty constant in our budget. So $3,223 is going to be budgeted for our fixed expenses. We're going to move over to our sinking funds, and that's going to be under variable expenses. We always do this last because sinking funds gets the remainder of whatever we have left in our budget. As you know, sinking funds are just another form of savings that saves to something specific in the future that you know will happen or may happen, such as car repairs or holidays, birthdays, things like that. So we're going to move over to our variable expenses. And again, for our household, they're not really variable because we pretty much budget the same amount into our spending account and we just allow it to roll over if we don't use it. So if we go over, we usually have extra from the months that we were able to roll over. So our household includes both our groceries, toiletry, cleaning supplies, anything household related, because we've realized the stores we shop at pretty much combines them both and it was getting harder to separate them for budgeting purposes. So household is food, groceries, household items, cleaning supplies, etc. And we budget on a 4-week month, $800, which is about $200 a week. For gas, that usually stays pretty consistent at $200. And again, that just rolls over if we have extra that we don't use. Miscellaneous, this is about $50 a week as well, $200. Now, with the holiday season, for your budget, you have to be very careful. Hopefully you have sinking funds or savings accounts that you can help your budget by pulling from during these times. Hopefully that is the case. But if that is not, then we have to just do old-fashioned budgeting where we are simply scrounging and sacrificing and not using all of our funds so that we can allocate it towards other things like food, gifts, and things that come around during the holiday. So the first thing I'm going to add, we know we have Thanksgiving, so I'm going to add a travel budget here. And luckily for our family, we've already paid for our majority of our holiday trip. So lodging, which is an Airbnb, rental. So this is going to be more so for like gas or food or anything else that we need for that trip. And I'm just going to put 500 to be on the safe side. Hopefully we can spend less than that, again, because we've already technically paid for the trip itself. These are just the things that we know are going to come up during the trip. So that's going to technically be for Thanksgiving. So if you participate in things like Black Friday and you have something specific in mind, like a major electronic or household item that you want to purchase in November, go ahead and add it to your budget. Again, hopefully you can pull from some savings or sinking funds, but if not, you want to be realistic with yourself. If you know you're going to shop or you know you're going to travel during the holiday, include it in your budget so at least you have line of sight, and hopefully that you can be working towards those financial goals of funding them prior to the date coming. So travel, I'm trying to think of any major birthdays. Most of the time I can pull smaller birthday gifts from my personal funds throughout the month, but if it's a major or milestone or a traveling birthday, I want to keep that in mind and budget for it accordingly. So we don't have anything there. I think travel was pretty much the biggest thing. Yeah, because that includes food. Okay, so we're going to do this last because, again, the remainder of our budget goes into sinking funds, and then we are going to go to debt. For our household, the only debt we have are student loans, and I just keep on going back and forth on this. Our monthly budget is about $500, but we haven't had a monthly payment for pretty much the entirety of this year because of the servicing issues where they have paused or put it in forbearance. So we still try to pay at least $100 a month just to at least keep some of the interest at bay. But this is going to become a part of our budget again next year. So I try to keep line of sight, but with travel and the holidays, I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to budget the 100 that we do right now, even though it's technically a minimum of $0 right now, to account for the extra travel expenses. So for total debt, we're going to budget $100. And then now we can figure out what our sinking funds are going to be. So if we start off with $5,200, we take away $3,223 in fixed expenses, $100 in debt, $800 in household, $200 in gas, another $200 in miscellaneous, and $500 in travel. Okay, that leaves us with $177 to budget for sinking funds, which is a little low, but it's better than nothing, and hopefully we are able to save at least that much. Okay, so 177, and then we're just going to add this back up, 800 plus, I'm going to just do 400 plus 500. So That puts us at $18.77 in variable expenses, so our fixed expenses, 23, variable expenses, 18.77. So this holiday season, if you are a hourly worker, this is the time to try to do some overtime if it's allowed or if it's available at your job. If you're in sales or self-employed, this is where you want to try to increase those sales or services, because the last thing you want to do is get into more debt for a holiday, especially for things, material things, that you probably won't even remember once a new year rolls around. So we are at exactly $5,200, and that doesn't really leave anything remaining for extra savings or anything like that. But the good thing is we already have our savings included in our budget, so anything remain would be additional. So we will see how the month goes, and I'm excited that it's the end of the year. I know with a lot of the holidays and the festivities, it can actually bust your budget. So it's super important to keep that in mind or top of mind at the beginning of the month, so you're not scrambling in the middle or the end of the month towards the holiday when we kind of know this is coming up. So just be mindful during the holiday season. Try not to overspend. I know it's easier said than done, but that's why we budget. So hopefully you can already include those things so you don't feel restricted, so you feel like you do have the funds to participate in these holiday events. So let me know what holiday variable expenses you have to add to your November budget. And that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, whatever you put your energy and focus toward, you're bound to see progress.